morning. Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Me? I'm glad to be back in the comfort of my office, and I must apologise for yesterday's absence, but I did have a very, very good reason. Together with Peter Haddock and my son Fred, we were on official filming duties on a little project that you probably heard of, HS2. Look, if I can do this properly, I even have, if I can get it to play properly, there you are. I even have my official ID to prove it. It was a funny old day, to be honest. Aside from the usual site induction, which I'm now used to, I had to undergo a full drugs and alcohol test, even though I was driving nothing more complicated than a camera tripod. As we moved from one part of the site to another, I think I probably signed in and out various times, possibly about a dozen times over the course of the day. So my autograph, which was pretty worthless before, is even more worthless now. We weren't even allowed to take our own PPE. Everything from HS2 branded boots to jackets, trousers were provided to ensure that we met their very exacting standards. I have to admit, having been on site at 7:45 yesterday and not even getting the camera out of the bag until 10 a.m, I was starting to think that the project was a bureaucratic and logistical nightmare. Yet once we got past those formalities, I have to say the project was every bit as impressive as you might think, despite the presence of tens of millions of pounds of worth of equipment and a great deal of technology as well. I think the most striking thing about the project was just its physical location. When you fly over London, it looks full to the brim. There's barely enough space for the people that are already living and working there, and yet the various engineering teams working on the London end of the HS2 project have managed to shoehorn Europe's largest civil engineering project into a little corner of West London. It really was a remarkable day out, and I insisted on keeping my ID badge. There you are. There it is. When I can get it to work. Oh, it's there somewhere. There you go. That was upside down. Will I ever get to travel by HS2? Who knows? But I can now add HS2 to the Channel Tunnel and the London 2012 Olympics to my list of standout projects visited, which has kind of given me a bit of inspiration for today's question of the day. Speaking of which, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I'm your host, Mark Anthony. It is Wednesday, the 1st of March. I have no idea how it's March already, but my calendar assures me it is. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, the dawning of the age of Develon. A UK Hyundai customer goes into the red, and we chart the fall of the Champlain Bridge over in America, plus construction's mega machines compared by size. You'll be quite impressed by that one, I think. We're going to get to all of that in just a second. But first, let's see who among the rich and the shameless will be celebrating a birthday on this day of days. Happy birthday! And it's many happy returns to composer Frédéric Chopin and to band leader Glenn Miller, who apparently is still missing. Happy birthday also to actor and the author of my favourite book, David Niven. That's The Moon's a Balloon. Absolute blast of a book, if ever you get the chance. To singer Harry Belafonte, to King Crimson drummer Michael Giles, and to the Who frontman Roger Daltrey. Met Roger Daltrey on a number of occasions. I'll bore you with that some other time. To movie director Ron Howard, although I still know him from Happy Days. Baker Paul Hollywood. We now have famous bakers, apparently. Actor Javier Bardem, and to former West Ham defender, Jonathan Spector. Many happy returns to them, one and all. Now, before we get started, here's a very quick reminder of our question of the day. Yeah, one of the guys that we interviewed yesterday while I was on the HS2 site was a guy who is a tunnelling expert, and he's tunnelled here in the UK, Channel Tunnel, now HS2, but he's also worked in Thailand, in China, Japan, Australia, all manner of places, and that was really what inspired today's question of the day. I've been to the Channel Tunnel. I didn't work on them, but I did my job while I was there. Channel Tunnel, London 2012 Olympics, and now obviously HS2. Love to know what your dream project might have been from now or in some time in history. Now, let's crack on with a bit of this. ConExpo 2023 marks the official arrival of Develon, the new brand name for what, until now, has been Doosan. Ahead of that launch, the company has hosted a virtual launch to explain the thinking behind the rebranding and its plans for the future. You can see the whole of that 17-minute film over on YouTube, and I'll drop a link in the chat. But first, here's a look at the machine part of the film.
Building the foundation of lives. Turning the future into reality. Creating your success together. Where endless innovation and solutions are created to achieve the goal. That's where Develon is. We create value beyond products. With the best-in-class performance, market-leading fuel efficiency, and durability. With our end-to-end after-service and support, Develon is committed to our customers and partners' success. We create solutions beyond products. We go beyond making products. We are breaking new grounds with innovative digital solutions for productivity, for safety. We change the future of our customers and the world. Expecting changes in the industry and technologies, we create sustainable solutions to pass the foundation of lives onto the next generation. For the technology you are waiting for. For the future you are dreaming of. To continue developing onwards. Our innovation continues. We are Develon.
I think I may need to rethink how I'm pronouncing that. I thought it was Develon, because apparently it's a conjunction of the word develop and innovation. Develon. Apparently the Americans are going with Develon. Develon. There you are. I did say there's a 17-minute film. I've posted a link in the chat to that. However you pronounce it, Develon, they are just one of the many brands that we're going to be working with over in ConExpo, so you can expect more, much more from them, both during and after the show. Bit of this. It was a prolonged and complex project that we charted over on our demolitionnews.com website. But with the demolition and removal of America's Champlain Bridge now complete, the team behind the project have produced a film that charts the entirety of the project from start to finish. Check this out. that's not just great demolition. That is a major feat of engineering. And we'll be looking at some other feats of engineering in our final film of the day. And that's after we're going to look over some red Hyundai machines. Yes, red Hyundai machines. You heard me right. We'll be doing that right after this. When I first started doing this job, well, not this job, but the job I did before this job, when I first started writing about plant and equipment, just after steam went out of fashion, there were plenty of red machines about the place. We had Lane at the smaller end of the machine spectrum, and then we had O&K at the heavy end of things. Sadly, with the demise and departure of both Lane and O&K, both of which were swallowed up, red machines have become something of a rarity. So it's great to see a Hyundai customer reminding us just how good a red excavator can look.
I'd say Hyundai is the best brand we've bought. Obviously, we used a lot of case machines before we started using Hyundais, and I'd say Hyundais are better, more comfortable, more powerful, more reliable machines. I'm Tom Russell, I'm a director of C.W. Russell Limited. My dad Charlie Russell started the business 28 years ago. We built from in-buying one tipper to what we have now, 35 wagons, 40 odd machines, 5 crushers, 6 screeners. Construction's our main sector. We've recently moved into crushing and screening. We're a tip hire company, we run aggregates around the northeast, do a lot of muck away, site clearance, small part of demolition. From our total fleet, we've probably got about 25 of our machines working on this site. There's 3 crushers working near enough full time down here and 4 screeners. So we moved over to Hyundai around 2 years ago when we bought an old loading shovel, and our local Hyundai dealer Taylor Braithwaite looked after us. We did use other excavators from other dealers for around the last 4 years before that, but we just found Hyundai is the most reliable, probably the most efficient on fuel, best backup from the dealer. Well, our company colours are red, always have been for the last 28 years, and that was our first factory ordered digger, so as we buy factory ordered machines, we're going to start buying a red fleet of excavators now. To run a fleet of Hyundai excavators, they vary from 20 tonners to 50 tonners, with 5 loading shovels. We run 2 machines with magnets, we've got 3 machines on munchers, and then the rest of the machines work on the actual crushers and screeners loading. And yeah, we've got 6 of the new Hyundai's A-series machines. They've been reliable. The operators like using them, they're comfortable, powerful. Taylor and Braithwaite's backups, very good. They've got all the mod cons that an operator want. They've got Bluetooth, very good aircon, comfortable seat. Nobody's complained about any of them. The power mode's very good on the Hyundai machine with crushing and screening. If you're turning over big heaps where you need to work through the heat faster than what normal digging machines would do. Yeah, we've been running Hyundai machines for 2 years and they've had no structural issues. There's been no real major breakdowns. Obviously there's been the odd thing that Taylor and Braithwaite have been straight out and sorted out, so yeah, I can't find anything wrong with them. Taylor and Braithwaite support's the best support we've had from an excavator dealer. So there's somebody always there to pick up the phone, whether it's a salesman or it's a director or it's a fitter, there's always somebody there to speak to and sort your issue, and if you can't sort your issue over the phone, just straight out. Yeah, Taylor and Braithwaite definitely understand our business in the fact that everything we've got is always busy, so they work around our downtime rather than having to stand the machine for them to come out to it. It's a brand we know and it's a brand that we've used, so we're just trying to stick with Hyundai.
When I was in Japan back in 2019, we got to meet a demolition company, and all their machines were painted in various shades of purple and pink. Through a translator, I actually asked the guy who owned the company, why would you take a Caterpillar machine and paint it purple and pink? And his answer, which I think a lot of people could learn from, was when it rolled off the production line, it was a Caterpillar machine, but I've bought it now and it's mine. That's why it's wearing my colours. Same there with the Hyundai customer. They've gone red, and I think they look pretty damn smart as well. Now we need a spot of, well, if you are worried about fuel theft, maybe you'd like to take a look at this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
In the field of construction equipment, big machines can achieve an almost mythical status. There is the ACO Superdozer, 183 tons of dozing power that, through no fault of its own, never actually turned a track in anger. There's the Belaz 75710, an ultra-class mining truck that is capable of carrying a 450-ton payload. Never seen one myself outside of YouTube, and I've never actually met anyone that's seen one either. But even those mega machines are dwarfed by some of construction's true giants. Take a look at this. Yeah, they're that big. You know the saying, go big or go home. Funny enough, when I was on HS2 yesterday, there is a conveyor that is linked to the tunnel boring machine that is actually about to start work about a month from now. And that conveyor is 1.7 kilometers long. That's a conveyor, no question about it. I think we've just had a couple of comments in. I'd be front of the queue if that was ever turned into a plant show. You'd need a big space for it. I'm not even sure that the Balmer showground, Messermunchen, could accommodate that. Our friend, I say friend, Rob, more infomercials. If you don't like it, Rob, there is an exit. But thank you very much indeed for being here anyway. I think we need to roll one of these.
Sorry to interrupt the guy with the funny glasses, but if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like button as it helps our channel. Or, better still, share this video with a friend or a colleague. Thank you. Right, back to Beardy.
Right, that's going to wrap up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. We can find out what projects you would love to have worked on and various other bits and pieces. Tonight is actually the first meeting of our Construction Content Creators Club. That's at 7 o'clock tonight. It's behind closed doors, although I know certainly Steve Williamson will be there and his sidekick, Ed Butler, is supposed to be there as well. So looking forward to doing that, and I'll be telling you more about that in the fullness of time. I'm going to be back here again tomorrow, but if you can't stick around, obviously look after yourself, your family, your friends, your colleagues, and all of that good stuff. Have a great day. Thanks for watching. But if you do have the time and the inclination, I'll see you on the other side of this for the crack. Now, we seem to have a few issues here for some reason. Bear with me, not that it's a major importance, but let me just see if I can alter this. There, that's what the chat is supposed to look like. I'm going to get some music rolling and then we'll get into the main part of this stuff. There we go. some reason the button stopped working from time to time. Never entirely sure why. Let's get into the comments here and go straight to the bottom here. Dan Cullen says, what about Neil? Yeah, what about Neil? I've actually dropped him a message earlier this week, not heard back from him. As some of you are aware, he is actually off sick at the moment, been signed off for the best part of a month, I think. Not heard back from him as yet, but I'll keep you posted on that when it arises. Going to go back to the very beginning. Who was first off the mark? Peter McKenna. Peter, I saw yesterday you're off work again. I think. I'm not entirely sure. I was doing this on the run yesterday, but I think you're laid up again. So get well soon, my friend. Morning all, 9 days. I wonder what Steve's talking. Oh yes, it will be at ConExpo, and it's 9 days. Obviously, 9 days until we fly. So we're about 11, 12 days until the show itself opens. Can't wait. Spoke about virtually nothing else between times on HS2 yesterday. Good morning. Ken Hatter has got the chill. Yeah, keeping a very close watch on the weather forecast for Las Vegas. It's looking okay. Not looking marvellous, but it's looking okay. I'm fairly sure it's going to be warmer than where we are at the moment. Dan Cullen's in the house as well. Morning, Dan. Happy hump day. Yeah, happy hump day to you as well, my friend. You have a great day with the camera. Yes, we did. It really was that inspired the question of the day. You know, what project would you most like to have worked on? Because we spoke to a young guy called Jack yesterday, who is recently, he was a labourer on the site or on site, and has just moved over to the surveying team. And he was saying, you know, because he's a young guy, you know, there will come a time in 10, 15, 20 years' time when him and his family and his friends will travel on HS2, and he'll be able to say, I did part of that. I was part of the team that brought this massive project to fruition. And I have to say, came away with that very much playing in my mind, because I have been very, very lucky over the years. As I say, went on to the Channel Tunnel, went to the boring part of it. I don't mean the dull part, I mean the tunnel boring part of it. But even before the project started, I went out on one of the test drilling rigs out in the channel, where they were actually boring straight down to check the stability of the rock strata, whether it was stable enough to take the tunnel that they had planned for it. So I followed that from very early doors. I stood on the M25 before it was open. For probably the last time that you could ever do that. Obviously, from my own personal point of view as a West Ham fan, memorable for all the wrong reasons. I was probably the last person to kick a football at the old bowling ground of West Ham, because they were demolishing it. Demolition did a fantastic job there, even though I've hated them for it ever since. They did a fantastic job with the demolition down there, and they very kindly invited me down to have one last look around my own personal theatre of dreams. And I found a football, and I got to play on the hallowed turf. So I've got a collection of these places that I've been, and funnily enough, I've got a bit of the old Wembley Stadium, a chunk of concrete, and I've also got a bit of the old West Ham Stadium as well, both of which are on a shelf behind the camera there. I wouldn't say they're treasured possessions, but they mean a lot to me, because I was there. I was that guy. Let's have a look. Who we got in the chat? Mark Whiting's in the house. Morning, Mark. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Peter McKenna, can't hear anything. I've checked the audio. We seem to be good to go. I'm hoping that is an issue at your end. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang, and happy St. David's Day. Ken and all our friends from Wales. You know, it's passed me by entirely that it's St. David's Day. Got me fancying leeks for all of a sudden for some reason. Let's have a look. Good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang, says Al Grierson. Where are we? It's Wednesday. It's not World Al Grierson Day, but always good to see Al in the chat. I've got an EKFB pass, and you got further on site than me. Yes, that was quite the saga, wasn't it? I have to say, when we were kind of 2 hours into the process and the camera hadn't been out the bag, I could feel the rage building in me. Like, this is bureaucratic nonsense. How many times do I have to fill in my name, address, and email address, and so on? Being followed into the toilet by a young female employee to make sure that I wasn't faking my drugs and alcohol urine test, and so on down the line. And just as I was about to start to wonder why I'd even bothered going, they said, okay, you're good to go. Go have a look around the site. And from that point on, it was a joy. And I'm sure those that work on the project as well have exactly the same thing. Probably a day or so of frustration with inductions and what have you. But once you get past that, you are part of the biggest construction project in the whole of Europe, which is not a bad thing to have on your CV, is it? Let's have a look. See, here's the thing that's lost on me. Steve Williamson, and I know you're a fan, watching Guy Martin the other night. I have never watched a single episode or even a single minute of anything Guy Martin has ever done. Not ever. I'm sure he's a smashing guy. He clearly seems to know his stuff and, has a great following and everything else. Passes me by completely. So I'm going to take your word for it, Steve. Some project they're doing, building the nuclear power station. Not sure which nuclear power station it is, because I didn't watch it. So if anyone can enlighten me, is it Hinkley? Possibly. Let's have a look. Peter McKenna with his tongue planted firmly in his cheek. What project would you most like to have worked on? HS2. He got on site but wasn't allowed to actually turn a track in anger. I can only apologise, Peter. Question of the day. It's Channel Tunnel. I think it would have been a fantastic project to be involved in. How times have changed. I was actually talking to one of the project engineers down at HS2 yesterday, and obviously we had to go through about 6 weeks of preliminary checks to allow us to go on there. We've had to basically agree to give HS2 and the various contractors working there a sight of the film that we produce so they can approve it, make sure they're happy with it. As I say, we had to wear their PPE. We had to jump through all manner of hoops. When I did, there was no real restrictions because we were out in the middle of the ocean, or the channel anyway. Nothing like that when we went out to the test boring facility. But when we did the actual visit to Dover and the tunnel itself, it was probably a few months into actually boring at that time. They took a very different approach to making sure that we didn't step out of line. They loaded a bunch of us press into a van converted into a minibus. They drove us to the site, past where the opening to the tunnel was, and back out again. At no point did they allow us out of the van. At no point were we allowed to take photographs, but we could all say that we'd been there, and then we were taken off and given, if I remember rightly, some really, really awful sandwiches. So yeah, but I was there. I got on the site, which is more than a number of people could say. So yeah, Channel Tunnel, major engineering thing. Jim Turner's in the house as well. Morning, Jim. Thank you very much indeed for being here. That is the thing, I think. Again, going back to the young guy Jack, I'm not entirely sure what his job title is, but he's working as part of the surveying team over on HS2. He's probably early 20s, I would guess. There is every possibility that he could be. Excuse me a second. How do I kill this? My phone is ringing in my ear. Right, that's killed that. Yeah, there's every possibility that he could actually do the next 20 years on that same project. I would imagine the surveying will be over and done with, and he'll probably be going off to do something else. As I said before, his CV will look somewhat smart, I would have thought. Where have you worked? Oh, the biggest construction project in Europe. Not a bad item to have on your CV. I was part of the demolition remediation of the old Premium Bond Ernie site at Blackpool, driving between a 22-tonne Hyundai to a 70-tonne Hyundai and an ADT and a loading shovel. 5 months, no tickets. Funnily enough, I had a message on YouTube. Those of you that have been to have a look, you can go and have a look yourselves. We did the discussion with Ollie Guns about competence cards here in the UK, and the guy that has commented on it, I'm not sure if he's a Brit or an American or whatever it is, but he has been working for 8 months in Canada, I think it was, and he makes the point that in Canada, you are judged upon your experience and your actual competence. There are no cards, there are no legislative hoops to jump through. You apply for the job, you show them what you've done in the past, they then check to see that you are kosher. At that point, you get to go to work. Seems a lot more sensible to me. Steve Williamson, again, because I didn't see the show, I don't know why it has to be built twice. If somebody could fill me in, maybe I need to go and give Guy Martin the benefit of the doubt and go and actually watch one of these things. Oh, that would be a corker. The Apple headquarters in California. Yeah, that would. I'd love to have visited that. The other one that's obviously going on at the moment is the line in what is it, Neom, part of Saudi Arabia. That whatever it is 170 kilometers or something like that in a dead straight line. The world's first linear city. Love to go and have a look at that. If anybody from Neom is watching right now, hello. That's the same drone as mine. Where was there a drone? The drone may have been in... I'm not sure what film the drone was in. I need to go and have a look at that. Peter McKenna says, morning, Jim. The spaceship, says Ken Hatcher. I'm guessing he means the space shuttle. Has anybody ever heard the story about the space shuttle? And I don't know whether this is true, apocryphal, or somewhere between the two. But the legend has it that the size of the fuel tanks that take the space shuttle into orbit, or up before it goes into orbit, should I be more specific, are the width of 2 horses' arses. Again, I've never taken a tape measure to them, but I'm led to believe they are the width of 2 horses' arses, and the reason for that is that there is a railway that takes the fuel tanks to Cape Canaveral or wherever it is that they launch from these days. And that railway has a tunnel, and that tunnel was originally designed to take a cart pulled by 2 horses. So it was originally designed to be 2 horse arses wide. Now it's been converted into a railway. They've never upgraded it, they've never widened it, so the fuel tanks for the space shuttle are the width of 2 horse arses. If somebody can confirm that's true, I'd love to hear about it. This will be the 3rd rebrand. Daewoo or Daewoo or Daewood, as we used to refer to them because they were down in Wales, Doosan, and now this. However, it said, yeah, I'm sticking with Develon until somebody tells me otherwise. I'm never completely convinced about rebrands. I'm sure there's a very good reason for it, and obviously there has been that coming together of Hyundai and Doosan, and now they are still part of the same organisation, but it looks like Doosan or Develon is kind of going that way, and Hyundai is going that way. So I fully understand the thinking behind it. But I did the PR for Rammer for a number of years, and Rammer was swallowed up by Sandvik, and those very, very familiar and very popular and widely regarded red Rammer hammers stopped being red and stopped being Rammer. And the world just went, no, we'd quite like Rammer back, please. And Rammer came back about 3 years later. Would McDonald's ever rebrand? Would Coca-Cola? Would Adidas? Can't see it. But as I say, we are due to meet up with the folks at Develon the day before ConExpo opens, and I have a certain person at Kinsoffer that's allowed me to do that. There is a connection. I'll bore you with it sometime, but yes, I will tell you more about that. I think the reactor core is being delivered today, Steve. Timely that we should be talking about that. As I say, I don't know what project we're talking about there. That is some demo project. That was the Champlain Bridge. As I say, we followed that. I think we probably featured that 2 or 3 times over the course of the Demolition, over on Demolition News. If you'd like to go and chart that back, go take a look. I think that would be a project that would be interesting, Ken. Yep. 4,000 people on site, apparently. Yeah, one of the things that we did yesterday, no great secret, we were there filming for Leica alongside SCS, the rail company, and also Skanska. And one of the things that Leica have installed there is they've put in these total stations for measuring and monitoring and what have you. And they've actually put some on the roof of neighbouring tower blocks, so that they've got sort of an overview of the entire site. So we got to go up onto one of the tower blocks yesterday, probably about 20 stories high, I suppose. I looked down on the project, and it's just astonishing how much they've managed to cram in there. I mean, just literally from there, we could see probably 30, possibly even 40 tower cranes. I reckon there was 50 plus ADTs, loads and loads of excavators, and obviously all of those require people to drive them, all of which require welfare facilities, toilets, and so on down the line. We ate in the canteen at the Victoria Box site yesterday. Damn fine cheeseburger, I have to say. Not that I'm a cheeseburger connoisseur much, but good grub. Fine job on a tower crane, that. Yeah, absolutely. There's a company up in Scotland that paints everything they have in cat yellow paint. GF Job. Yeah, I'm a fan of customization. I love both Despe in Italy and Cardem in France, both big demolition companies. Both have gone for white. Almost impossible to keep clean, but man alive, those machines. Imagine, if you're football inclined, imagine how good a Real Madrid branded excavator would look. And that gives you some idea of Despe and Cardem. Going to be different and stand out. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the best looking machines I've seen here in the UK, and I'm sure they've still got it in their fleet, Clark Demolition Company, or CDC, have got a black, I think it's Hitachi, high reach excavator, literally black from tip to toe. Oh, that's a sexy looking piece of kit, that is. Yeah, not the nicest, to be honest. Personal preference. Not sure what that one was about. Wow, says Steve Williamson. There's our friend Rob, who I can't tell if he likes this content or not, to be perfectly honest. And yet he's shown up again, so I can only assume he quite likes an infomercial. What a plant show that would be. Yeah, absolutely. Can you imagine? Yeah, listen. It's the bigger the better. Applies in many walks of life. I think I've answered this one. Neil, I've reached out, haven't heard back. I can only assume he is still laid up at the moment. How was the beast from the east? Did you get much snow? We didn't see so much as a flake. Not a flake of snow, but it was cold. It was cold. Listen, it's not Scottish cold, so I realise I'm being a big old softy here. But I have to say, with hindsight, when somebody says, go stand on a rooftop, a 20-story rooftop, in February, yeah, it was quite cold. It was one of those colds where I came home last night, wife had done a big old bowl of braising steak, and all the time I was eating it, I thought, oh, I feel lovely and warm now. I finished, and the cold was still there. Cold to my very core I was. I gave Ed your number, I told him about it. Yeah, Ed has actually been in touch, so Ed is scheduled to be on the show tonight, although I think he's driving, so I think he's going to be listening while everybody else is taking part. Dan Cullen, question of the day, what project would you most like to have been involved in? London Olympics. Yeah, got on that a couple of times. Again, because of my demolition bias, I got on there very early doors. I went there with Erith, I think, and Clifford Devlin as well, if memory serves me correctly. I got on very early doors to see them clearing the way for the London 2012 Olympics. There's an explanation. Peter McKenna, chest infection, spent 5 days in hospital with IV antibiotics. Came out thinking I was better, but still had the infection, so more antibiotics and steroids. So you'll be running the 100 metres in about 9.5 seconds with your system rammed full of steroids. Probably not. Ken Hatcher says, I can hear you okay. Yeah, I'm seeing my audio levels here. I can only assume that it's all good and done. I'm assuming that's Guy Martin, the 3 shows he's done on Channel 4. Fantastic. Yeah, again, I think I was either at JCB at the same time that Guy Martin was doing something, or I think I'd followed on a day before or something like that. And huge amounts of fuss on that, everything else. Just never got it. Maybe it's a busman's holiday thing. maybe I spend so much of my time doing this, I don't want to watch somebody else talking about doing this sort of stuff. I don't know. I'm sure I've misjudged him completely. As Jim Turner says, you're missing a trick, Mark, a great presenter with a passion for everything he gets involved in. I'm sure. And listen, he is popular for a reason. I'm not sure, and I can't believe that it's by accident. I'm sure he's very good at what he does. Jim Turner says Rutland Water, yeah, absolutely. What a fantastic project. The only reason I know Rutland Water is apparently lots of pike available there. Let's have a look. Kenneth Hatcher says, seen Guy Martin's Great British Power Trip. Watch it here on All 4. Okay, in that case I shall go and do that. It won't be today though, because my diary is rammed today, absolutely rammed. Let's have a look. You would like the programme, Mark? Listen, I feel like I'm in the minority here, and in order to be part of the club, I'm going to have to get on board with Guy Martin by the looks of it. He's fantastic, love his shows. Hate it when I miss the lives. They're still there, Peter. You can check them out whenever you like. Just pop on over to YouTube and indulge to your heart's content. Doosan is a competitor to the Hyundai Corporation, so they had to change the name after buying it. Yeah, absolutely. Outside of digger building, their heavy industry. Yeah, absolutely right. I think it's because Doosan's still doing their factories, left the construction equipment to Hyundai. Again, all of that I think is going to become clear. You know, when we saw the launch of the Hyundai ADT at Hillhead last year, just struggling to remember what day of the week it is and what year it is. It was Hillhead last year. We saw the launch of the Hyundai ADT, which looked not a whole lot different to the Doosan ADT, which we all know and love. So yeah, we're going to get some clarification on that on the day before ConExpo starts. Question of the day: I worked on a job in Ireland where we built the first moving bridge, moving at 1 metre in 4 hours. I have a son that moves at roughly that rate, and I'm not talking about Fred here. I had to build it away from site, had to be pulled by pulleys and lots of huge cables. I always find those things remarkable. I know there was a job over in Croydon where they jacked a bridge into position, but it was all done by hydraulic jacks. And I was invited to go and film it, which I did, but the hydraulic jacks moved so slowly that even when we time-lapsed it, you couldn't actually see a change. It was moving sort of fractions of an inch at any given time. So let's have a look. Are we all in front of the camera tonight? Yes, you are. Nobody's going to see it apart from us. You know, the original committee of the Construction Content Creators Club. But yeah, you can join. You can join without being on camera, but I do think it would be better if you are on camera. But yeah, if you'd like to point, I can't imagine you being too shy, Steve. But if anybody else would like to, any of our gang for tonight just wants to point the camera at the ceiling, you can be off camera if you wish. Not a problem at all. How's the fox? Is he still sitting on the roof shed? It's interesting to watch how bold he has become. He's up there pretty much daily now. Now, bearing in mind, I've got 2 very large boxer dogs. I mean, our boy boxer dog goes in at about 44 kilos. He's a big old lump. He's best part of 8 stone in weight. And the first couple of times that the roof fox, as we're now referring to him, spotted the bigger of our 2 dogs, obviously he ran away. Next time he waited until they were both very close to the shed before he darted off. The last time, and this was only the girl dog, went out there, and she literally walked right the way up to the shed, looked up, barked at him, and he looked down at her and yawned a bit. So he's now emboldened, I think. We're on the verge of possibly leaving food out for him up on the roof. The only problem is our shed roof, there's a tree above it. So I've got a funny feeling we won't be feeding the fox, we'll just be feeding the neighbouring crows. But watch this space. If I can get a decent photograph of him, as I say, he's been emboldened with the dogs, but as soon as I open the back door to try and aim a camera in his direction, he's off like a shot. But we'll get there. I'll prove the existence of the roof fox. Coca-Cola own the rights to the KSI Prime drink. They bought the drinks company just before the rush for the hydration drink. I did not know that. I did not know that. I mean, bearing in mind they are still promoting it very much as a KSI Logan Paul thing, to the point, weren't they the first YouTube creators to take a Super Bowl ad a couple of weeks ago? $7 million to advertise their drink, and no wonder. There is I'm not even sure how you describe it. There is an Iranian mini supermarket about 2 miles from my front door. They do fantastic fruit and veg. So actual fresh fruit. So you can buy a pear or a peach at this shop. It's called Arena in North Cheam. You can buy a peach or a pear and you can eat it there and then. You don't, not like Sainsbury's where you buy it and you have to hope that it goes ripe before it goes mildew. The fruit and veg there is fantastic. But one of the reasons that I know the shop as well as I do is because during the COVID lockdown, and there were shortages of lots of things, this company was entirely unaffected by it. So things like jars and cans of beans and chickpeas and all of that kind of thing, excuse me, they basically got us through the pandemic. Didn't have to go to supermarkets that were obviously running on shortages and stuff. I was in there a week ago, and it's the first time I've actually seen this prime drink in the wild. Haven't bought into the hype, not particularly interested into hydration and energy drinks and stuff, but I did actually think, I know somebody, one of my kids would probably like one of these, so I picked it up and stuck it on the counter and said I'll take that as well, and they said it's 10 quid. 10 quid for a bottle of drink. So I put it back. I love my kids, but not that much. So no idea what it tastes like, but yeah, as you say, if Coca-Cola own the rights. Anybody got the impression now that we are headed to the point where the dystopian future that we're always presented with is that corporations will run the world? If ever you get a moment, go and check all the things that Disney owns. It's multiple film franchises like the Marvel films and all of those, multiples of those. Loads of TV channels, they've got their hat or their finger in various newspapers. Disney owns a half the world, and then you look at the other big corporations that are doing the same. We will soon be answering to our media masters. Seen a shutter bust and 600 metres concrete wasted to 2 clips not in place. Ouch. Yeah, that's going to sting. The HS2 brick section move is on YouTube. Yes, it is. I have seen that. I don't know quite why. When HS2 first started, we were on the mailing list for the media department there. When it first started, they were producing lots and lots of films of equipment being put in place, apprentices going through their training, on all that kind of thing. Now it's live, and I'm guessing because they have so many masters to satisfy. As Peter rightly said earlier, the FR Kia Ferrovial BAM, I think is the other part, the EFKB. The bit I was on yesterday was Skanska. There was Balfour Beatty next door. I think they're at the point now where they have so many hoops to jump through that video is virtually impossible, which is why that's dried up. But a few bits are still making it over onto YouTube. And what is that expression? The revolution will be televised. The revolution in certainly the HS2 revolution will be fully televised from start to finish. Not just those that are doing it professionally, but I would imagine, despite the restrictions on the use of mobile phones there, I would imagine there'll be a fair few TikTok and Instagram videos and photographs out from within the site that people have taken over the period. So we will, unlike the Channel Tunnel, and even to a degree London 2012, there will be a fair degree of being able to go back and say, and actually watch the HS2 unravel. The smartphone algorithms are brain training the younger generation to see paying a tenner for a poxy tin of pop as normal. The world as we know it is screwed, I think we'll go with, because we are a YouTube friendly organisation here. Yeah, it does make you wonder, doesn't it? It does make you wonder. But the younger generation, yes, I agree, the younger generation. But I do feel very much like I bought into this as well. Not with cans of pop, but I used to go to like a local cafe for what used to be termed a frothy coffee. And I used to pay 50, 60, 90p, sometimes even a quid for a cup of coffee. And I was quite happy with that. It was a calf, it was a bit rough around the edges, but £1 for a cup of coffee, and you think, that was a decent cup of coffee, that set me up for the day, all is right with the world. And then along came a little TV show called Friends, and it's Cafe Perk. And all of a sudden, coffee was no longer a drink or a beverage, it was a lifestyle choice. And in order to fully embrace the lifestyle choice that was coffee, you had to go to places where you had nice comfy sofas, and all of the people there were deeply attractive, yummy mummies as far as the eye can see. At which point we decided £3 for a cup of coffee was a good idea. And £3 for a cup of coffee that had not a great deal of coffee in it, but which had a great deal of sugar and flavoured syrups. So, and again, I'll put my hand up. My preference in Starbucks is a vanilla latte. I am not drinking a coffee, I am basically drinking a hot ice cream with virtually no coffee in it whatsoever, and that coffee that is in it is as weak as anything, so I'm not getting the full caffeine kick that I used to get from my frothy coffee from the calf. And somewhere along the line, I bought into the whole notion that £3 was an acceptable price for a cup of coffee, even though the calf down the road still does a cup of coffee that is perfectly good and very nice indeed for a quid. So yes, the younger generation paying a tenner for a bottle of pop, unquestionably madness. But it's not just the kids. I'm every bit as guilty. And following on from that, do you remember a time when you used to be able to get up and go to work without a bottle of water? You weren't suddenly concerned that between your house and your place of work that you might suddenly dehydrate, turn into a prune and expire on the spot. Now, wherever you go, you have to have a bottle of water with you. So it's either a plastic bottle, which is destroying the oceans of the world, or you've got a bottle for life, but you are taking water with you everywhere. Even though you're probably not an extreme athlete, you're just a bloke going to work, you have to have water with you. Do you also remember a time when your wife or your spouse or your girlfriend said to you on a Saturday afternoon, we need to go to the local town to stroll around the shops and to pick up some stuff? Do you remember a time when you could do that without calling into a coffee shop as part of the experience? I actually can't remember when that became a thing, but now if my wife says shopping, it means coffee. It means Cafe Nero or Starbucks or one of the multitude of others. When did that become a thing? I used to be able to go shopping I used to go up west with my best mate. We used to go up to Oxford Street in London, Regent Street, go and buy all our hip and groovy clothes. And we do that with, sometimes didn't eat, sometimes didn't drink. Just spend the entire day strolling around the shops, window shopping, watching the world go by. Didn't need a cup of coffee to get us through. When did that become a thing? Same here, you fall for branding quite easily. I spend a fortune on iPhones when most cheapo smartphones will do the job just as much. Yeah, they certainly will. But it's a lifestyle choice. I've had this conversation with my kids over the years. Back in the day, and bear in mind my day is quite a long while ago, but I used to go to house parties when I was at high school, and people would arrive for those parties clutching armfuls of albums, vinyl albums under their arm, and you could tell in an instant, is this person hip and groovy, or is their album collection suggesting that they're not worth knowing? Male and female. Literally, she might have been the most attractive girl at the party, but if she had crap tasting music, that was my interest over and done with. I think we've followed that through to the point where if I see somebody with one of these, I think, okay, they and I could possibly be friends. If I see them with an Android phone, I start to question their decision making. If I see them with a Huawei, They and I can never be friends. Probably says more about me than it does about the world, but there you are. We have decided, we have bought a lifestyle choice. The computer that's sat in front of me, into which I'm speaking right now, is an Apple Mac. I paid probably 400 quid more for this than I would have done for the Windows equivalent, because it has an Apple logo on it, and it's an Apple logo that I can't even see. It's on the back. There is a light there just above the camera. I could have got that for about £30, I guess. 120 quid's worth of light sat there, because it's the Elgato make, which is, you know, if you're into live streaming and YouTubing and all that, that's the make to have. It's a lifestyle, and it's a nonsense. It's a complete nonsense, and I'm sat here feeling guilty about having looked into it. I've been suckered along with the rest of the world. Right, people, it is going to be a busy day. I've got Zoom calls aplenty to do, so I'm going to love you and leave you. But I will be back here for those that are consider themselves to be content creators. They are all handpicked and invited to tonight's get together for the first ever construction content creators club meeting, which is at 7 o'clock UK time tonight. I know Steve Williamson is planning to be there. Ed Butler is going to be there in spirit, even if not in body. Al Grierson is going to be there as well. A couple of our other friends as well. I think Nigel Williams is planning to be there. Lana Edwards is going to be there. Katie Callagher is hopefully going to be there as well. So lots and lots of people to get together, and I'll be reporting back on that in the fullness of time. I'll be back here again for tomorrow's show. Till then, everybody have a fantastic day. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Apologies about yesterday again, but I did get myself an HS2 name badge, which I shall be hanging over there at some point in the next 24 hours just to prove that I was there. Everybody, go have a fantastic day. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you all very, very soon. All the best.